Every family has one person who seems like they can handle anything. But when you are the one who gets labeled the strong one, the problem is nobody ever asked you if you're okay. So today we are talking about the identity of the strong one. And I feel like this concept has gotten a lot more popularity over the more recent years. And it could be because of Ann Canto with the sister, Louisa. It could be that. I think a lot of people saw themselves in Louisa, and just this whole concept of the strong one has gotten a lot more attention. So if you are curious about 5 signs that you are actually the one who grew up in the role of the strong one in the family, stay until the end. What we are first going to do is talk about the pillar that the strong one may fall under, or any of these roles fall under, because they're all the same pillars if you've seen other videos. But what pillars am I talking about? I am talking about 2 of the 5 pillars from the Whole Method. The Whole Method is a method that takes you through really a transformational experience. It allows you to identify your thought patterns, raise awareness around the things that you carried from your childhood into your adulthood, and just how those things are impacting you, how to make peace with them and decide the person that you want to be. So that is pretty much the Whole Method. It comes with 5 pillars. The 5 pillars are witness, heal, own, love, and execute. They are in that order. Whole is a acronym. So we're going to start with the pillars, which are witness and heal. The reason why witness and heal are pretty much the main pillars of the roles that we play is because witness has to do with your thought process, and how we grow up significantly impacts our inner voice and the way that we process situations and the belief system that we build around the world that we're trying to understand as children. So that's why we deal in witness and then heal. Heal is the patterns that we develop from childhood because it deals with our origin story. It deals with the environment that we grew up in. So when we look at heal, we are better understanding the survival patterns we use to survive. And we're going from burdened by the unhelpful patterns that we may have picked up, and then to understanding why we pick those things up in the first place. So again, witness deals with your belief. Heal deals with how you came to believe what you now believe due to your childhood. So we got our pillars in place. Now let's go to number 1 of 5, the 5 ways you know you may have grown up with the identity of the strong one. First one, adults relied on you emotionally more than they protected you. So even adults, right? They felt like you had it more together than they did. And that's not really what it is. It's not so much you may have shown signs of understanding, but no adult should treat a child like another adult in the sense that they should be venting and unpacking, their stuff onto a kid, because kids are not meant to carry the level of responsibility that an adult is. That's why there are children and there are adults. That's why adults are meant to care for and teach and protect children. So the adult around you may have been so overwhelmed, or the boundaries may have been blurred so much that they just put more on you than they should have. So instead of you just focusing on growing up and being a kid and dealing with, what you should be dealing with, because it's not like kids don't have things to deal with, but what the difficulties you should have been overcoming at the age that you are, you're now thinking about these grand responsibilities, that an adult should be thinking about, because the adult has relied on you emotionally more than they protected you, because blurred lines. Okay. Number 2. You learned early that your feelings had to wait. You learned early that your feelings had to wait. Your feelings had to wait because your caregiver probably did not have the capacity to deal with them in real time. And honestly, kids who internalize that their feelings had to wait, not that your parent was like, I understand that you're upset, I have to, do this thing really, really quickly, but we're going to talk about it. Like, just, give me a second. Not a parent clarifying why they can't emotionally attune to you just yet, but they will, right? I'm not talking about those circumstances, because parents can't always drop everything just for the survival of the family. Parents can't always drop everything. So I'm not talking about that situation, but I'm talking about a situation where anytime you went to a caregiver and you seemed like you had some emotional weight on you, or you needed somebody to vent to, or you needed some comforting, and they were just like, can't deal with it right now. But not only right now, we're never coming back to it. That's the kid that I'm talking about who experienced this. You learn that your feelings don't take priority ever. You learn that your feelings are not of importance in the space that you're in. And you learn that because your caregivers aren't treating it like they are. And I have compassion and grace for everybody, in these situations, because really, people really are like puzzle pieces, and they come together in a picture. And a lot of times, if you are a kid who grew up feeling this way, you were probably raised by a caregiver who was extremely overwhelmed with their own life circumstances, and they probably did not have support in co-regulating themselves. I think my phone's ringing. Sorry if you can hear it. Excuse that. They didn't have support and co-regulation, so they didn't know how to co-regulate you either. So really, emotions didn't take priority. They kind of got swept under the rug because survival may have needed to take priority. There are things that they were probably dealing with that were very big, whether you could see them externally, or if they were so burdened by things that they had already experienced in life that it was really difficult for them to live presently. And in order to attune to a child's feelings, you really need to be present. You really just need to be aware and able to see the shifts, in your children. So yeah, it all kind of works together. We're all actively trying to survive and thrive into something different. Sorry, I'm listening to my daughter who's with her grandparents. Okay, that was a fun scream. Sorry. I was making sure she was okay. Okay, so that's number 2. You learned early that your feelings had to wait. Let's get into number 3. You were the one who stayed calm when things got chaotic. Ooh, that was a horrible A. Sorry. There we go. You were the one who stayed calm when things got chaotic. So, the process of becoming the strong one, people don't just wake up and decide to be the strong one, right? They're not born into being the strong one. There's not people who are just born stronger than other people. But there are people who experience things, difficulties in life, and as children, they realize that I have to be strong because the people around me don't really have a lot of space for my weakness, right? My fragility, the part of me that needs to be comforted and cared for, there's not a lot of space for that. So I have to armor up. I have to become the strong one in order to adapt and to survive in this environment that I'm currently in. And a lot of times when things became chaotic, you didn't have the space, right, to show weakness. You didn't have the space to not be calm because things were already chaotic, and you knew that there was not a whole lot of co-regulation. If you did, I really start to freak out, right? So you learn that even when I am having really large feelings, nobody's coming anyway. So I may as well stay calm and attempt to deal with them within myself. And honestly, what may look like calm externally could be total dysregulation on the inside, right? You could be like the duck on the surface of the water. The duck looks like, everything's calm, they're floating, you don't see anything. But underneath, them little legs are paddling, right? They're paddling very hard to appear to be that calm on the surface. And that very well could be the experience of the strong one. And a lot of times that is the experience of the strong one. Although they're showing up calm, they are paddling so fast underneath water. They are working so hard internally to stay calm and present and showing up for everybody. And you just don't see it, right? Because it's not showing up on the outside. It's an experience on the inside. So that's number 3. Number 4, and I'm probably going to erase the board. Not probably. I am going to erase the board after number 4, just because I don't want to write so low that it doesn't show up on camera, because then that's not really helpful. So just give you a heads up in case. I don't know why I think that people look at these with like a notebook. You totally could, especially if you wanted to journal, you would get so much out of this if you really looked at this and like took notes and journaled. That would be, you'd get a lot out of it. So, but yeah, if you forget what these are, just watch the video again. That's totally an option. All right, number 4. You notice. Wait a minute. No, I'm in the wrong thing. See, that's what happens with a notebook. You're not always sure where you're at. Okay, here we go. You started taking care of things that weren't, get crazy. My handwriting on a whiteboard, I'm lying. My handwriting period, I'm not even gonna lie to you like that. My handwriting period struggles. And on a whiteboard, struggle bus. I'm getting there though. I'm trying. I really hope that you can, it's legible enough for you to understand. You started taking care of things that weren't really a child's responsibility. Again, this goes back to the caregiver that you grew up with, what we talked about, number 2. This goes back to the strong one, oftentimes growing up with a caregiver who does not have the presence or the capacity to successfully deal with the environment around them, to successfully deal with the environment that they created for themselves, oftentimes because they're responding to an environment that they grew up in and didn't have the skills necessary to create a healthier environment for themselves and by happenstance for their kids. So when we talk about generational curses, that's really what it is. Generational curses are the survival patterns that we pick up and that are maladaptive, and we don't pull the good from the pattern, but we leave what's unhelpful, right? Because survival patterns really are a skill. Like, they are a protective skill. They are a sign that you were able to adapt as a child, and ultimately you survived your environment. That's why they're called a survival pattern. However, when you get older and you start to create your own environment, when you don't truly pick apart that pattern and really ask yourself, why am I doing what I do? which is the first goal in witness, because what you aren't aware of, you can't change. So the first question of why am I having these thoughts? Why do I do what I do? If you don't do that for yourself, then you will carry the unhelpful patterns with the helpful patterns into your adulthood. And you will end up creating environments that look very closely to the environment you grew up in. And even if it doesn't look like that, like on the outside, even if your surroundings don't look like that, you may be unintentionally passing down the same interaction patterns to your kids that were passed down to you. You create environments of possibly silence. You create environments of oversharing your emotional experience to your kids. You create environments that don't allow your kids to just focus on being kids and growing up and being emotionally attuned to, because your emotions take up so much space in the relationship. So those generational curses, they're not like some floofy, like, what are they? It's not like that. It's not just like hashtag generational curse. No, it's something that really exists. And when people say that, they are talking about the survival patterns that have been passed down, the ways that people learn to survive the environment that is no longer helpful to them and really should not have had to exist in the first place. So a big goal for parents, whether they know it or not, is to create environments that your children do not have to survive. And not just like they don't have to figure out, their next meal or a roof over their head, which is a fantastic goal if that's something you had to deal with. And if your children don't have to deal with that because you changed that, I honestly applaud you, because it's difficult to do something different than what we did before. However, and there is a second part to that. And there is an emotional aspect to that when you do not emotionally attune and you're not present and you're not mindful about your own emotional experience and not putting that heavily on your children, when you don't do that, you're still creating an environment that your children have to still survive. It just doesn't look the way it looked when you were younger. So there's a chance that you might miss it. And that's not judging you or coming down on you. This is really an opportunity to learn and raise awareness so that you're aware enough to have a choice. I don't want you to be on autopilot. And sorry, this is becoming a tangent, but it's good information. I don't want you to be on autopilot and not realize that there are still you're still creating an environment that your children have to emotionally survive. Because I believe that every parent deeply loves their child, even if it doesn't always show up that way, right? Even if that's not apparent to the naked eye on the surface. I understand that there are parents that are battling so much within themselves that it's really difficult for them to show up on the outside as emotionally present and, regulated and all those things. I'm saying that there is an impact to that, and it doesn't have to be that way. And hopefully with awareness, you have a choice in the matter of changing it, because by the grace of God, you woke up this morning and you have a choice. You can grow. Tangent. Okay. At least we're at number 4, right? At least I waited till number 4 to do that. Let's say we even answered. You started taking care of things, that weren't really a child's responsibility. So yes, like I said, it goes to number 2, of the caregiver you may have grown up with. And as a child, you are left to take on things that you probably shouldn't have taken on because you realize that your caregiver really needed help and that they were not functioning the best, and they were actually functioning to a point that you became concerned and you stepped into the role of taking on responsibilities that they should have been, that were their responsibility. You started taking on their responsibilities as your own when you shouldn't have. And that created the identity of the strong one, because when people saw you do this, they probably praised you for it. They probably said, oh, you're so, mature. That's fantastic. But in reality, the core of the reason why you're doing it is because you were afraid that if you didn't do it, your family was going to fall apart. And yeah, I honor that. I don't know why that just made me like emotional, but yeah, that you were afraid. You were afraid that if you didn't do this, your family was going to fall apart. And I see that, and hopefully you see it too. All right, let's get into number 5. Get into number 5. I hope that this is resonating with you. I hope that it's raising some awareness. If you don't feel like this is about you, but it's about somebody you know, please send them the video, because awareness is everything. Like, awareness is the first step to change and transformation. And what you are not aware of, you can't change. And sometimes, people are one video away from living a peaceful, joyful life. So please share it if you know that someone needs it. All right, let's get into 5. You sometimes keep things to... No, this isn't it. I am so sorry. This book, I gotta have a better book system, because I keep confusing the sides. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Last thing I want to do is waste your time. Okay, 5. Back to it. You felt... Lord have mercy. Help me, Jesus. You felt like you had to be okay. So things didn't get worse. And this is really, that kind of goes exactly with the tangent I just went on about, if you felt like you didn't step into the role, that your family was going to fall apart. That is a really good way to know that you are the strong one. You felt like you had to be okay, right? You felt like you had to be the duck on the surface that was calm but was paddling really, really fast underneath. That you had to do a lot of internal emotional work by yourself because there was no one there to help you through it. There was no one there to regulate you when you needed to be regulated. So you may have not learned to regulate in the healthiest way. You more so learned to perform regulation than actually feeling regulated and actually being okay. Like I said, there's a lot of people who are the strong one. I have met people who are the strong one, and they're really tired, and they're not tired like they need to go take a nap. Like, they're tired in a way that really makes me feel like I want to help them change their belief system, because I see that the things that they have carried from their childhood and now are still carrying today, how overwhelming it is, but they don't know how to put it down, and they don't know who they are without it. They don't think that they are still a person of value if they're not being useful. And that in ways hurts me. It hurts me to know that they feel that way, because for me in my life, like, some of the people that I'm thinking about, they're wonderful people, and they're capable of so much, like, not just in life, but in relationship. And it's a beautiful quality that they are able to, handle so much, and that they can look at another person and want to take their burdens away and put them on themselves, but not at their own expense. That's a level of skill to be able to carry that much, but at your own expense, it's not worth it. So if you are the person who identifies with this, I hope that you hear that, because there's nothing wrong with being the strong one. But when being the strong one does not include taking care of yourself, that's when things become really, how they become, because you feel it. You feel it right now as you're watching this video. You know what that feels like to be unsupported, or to feel like you can't ask for help, so you never actually ask for the support that you need. I get that, and I want it to be different for you, which is one of the reasons why I'm making this video. I really hope I wasn't standing in front of the board this whole time. That would be crazy. I really hope that you take from this video that you developed a pattern when you were younger because you needed to adapt and you needed to survive. And while there are helpful things you can take from that pattern that you learned, there are also unhelpful things that you need to let go for your own peace and joy. And if this video does nothing else, I hope it reinforces for you that you have a choice. That every day you wake up by the grace of God and you open your eyes, you have the ability to choose something different. You have the ability to take the awareness that you learned from this video and put it into action to change the patterns that you have in order to get the result that you want, because you fully have the power to do that. Again, I hope this was helpful. If this resonated with you and you're looking for some support around this, or you're curious as to what the heck the whole method was that I was talking about at the beginning of this video, please click in the link of the YouTube description and check out the Living Whole community. You know, you don't have to join right away. There's actually videos you can watch on there about the whole method. But if you really want to go into the whole method, you have to join the community for that, so that you can self-pace, you know, through a transformational experience that raises awareness and really helps you identify just where you are in life as far as, you know, not physically, but mentally and emotionally, and the things that you're thinking about, because your thoughts matter. Your thoughts absolutely matter, and paying attention to your thoughts and deciding, not even deciding, being just aware of how you're thinking and what you're thinking is the first step to your transformation. It's the first step to you changing and getting closer to the life that you want. So that's the Living Whole community. Again, the link is in the description. Please, by all means, check it out. If you like this video, look at the other ones on the page, because all of them are about the patterns that we picked up as kids and how we fell into these identities. And also, you know, on some videos, we talk about the cost of not changing them, and also the price you pay to change them, which is always discomfort. You know, it's always to stop avoiding what you know can make your life better out of fear, you know, of just being uncomfortable. Discomfort will always be the price that you pay for growth and change. And if you're interested in patterns and you would like, you know, shorter form content and maybe a little more lighthearted, maybe not lighthearted. I don't know if that's a good sell or not. You tell me in the comments. You check it out and tell me in the comments. But if you like just shorter form content around patterns, check me out on social media, on TikTok and Instagram. Both of them are at Talk Therapy on the Go. Yeah, and that's all. I really hope that this message blessed you. You know, I hope that this message spurred something in you to take steps, either the first step or continued steps toward your better understanding of your patterns and how they impact you. Thank you. That's it. Take care.